Illustration, yeah, you draw the underground first, and then a painting would just be where you just start painting with the brush first, for the most part. I mean, that's kind of how I distinguish the two, you know. Um, but no, not always. Sometimes I don't prefer it at all. But in this case, I'm going to do it. Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's totally that makes sense to me. I mean, do you by any chance know the painter, Joe Coleman? I think I may have put that in comments like a while ago.
Oh, when
But
you did comment on it, I looked him up, and yeah, he is familiar to me. I did see his juxtaposed layout probably years ago, and yeah, I realized that what I'm doing by compartmentalizing this is kind of like the Joel Coleman paintings, because he really does compartmentalize his imagery, and but I wasn't really intending to do that. I was trying to smear it together, and I'm going to be using hopefully a Todd Shore technique. Um, he's a great an illustrator, painter, and I kind of tried to master his techniques. That's what I do is I find artists that I think are really amazing, and then I study their techniques and try to implement them myself in the paintings, and hopefully it works out. Todd Shore, he sketches everything in a sketchbook first before he ever puts it to canvas. But I just decided I'm going to sketch it on the canvas and then work from there. Maybe it'll work out. I don't know. Compositionally, it might not be as great as I wanted it to be, but who knows?
yeah, no, I'm glad you looked at the Joe Coleman. I mean, yeah, I mean not. I mean in terms of content, you guys are worlds and worlds and worlds apart. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. You were the way your the composition, yeah, is really similar. But I don't know that other illustrator at all. I don't think. I don't think I've seen any of his other work.
Oh,
Work at all.
yeah. Well, one that I can mention is a huge bunny rabbit with a gorilla coming out of it. It's like a gorilla in a bunny rabbit suit popping out, and he's done quite a few things. He had juxtapose layouts and sub interviews with his work in it several times. He's a favorite of Robert Williams before Robert Williams died. I think Robert Williams died, but you must know who Robert Williams is.
He was also in Juxtapose, right? He's had a layout in Juxtapose, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I know this.
Robert Williams. He's the founder of Juxtapose. He's the guy who made it. Friends with the guy that created Ratfink, who right now
Right.
his memory is
That pick is cool.
evading me. Yeah, I got a Ratfink shirt, and
In the 80s, they actually put out a whole line of Ratfink toys that I had most of. They were pretty badass.
oh, right on. Hey, what do you think about getting a 3D printer and doing the yeah, there you go. Yeah, I
I'm
would be in love
dying
with
to
it.
get one.
Uh-huh.
They're not terribly expensive, too, for what they... I mean, they're expensive, don't get me wrong, but for what they do, it's not so bad, and they're such small, portable little units.
Yeah.
They have a whole bunch of them where I am. I just haven't really got a chance to play with one yet, but there's like three things I really want to do. I really want to make action figures.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way of printing with those things where you get all of these very weird, aberrant kind of structural forms just in these very, like otherwise very mundane shapes. Like if you cut them open,
Mm-hmm.
the way it's formulated inside is very crazy looking.
Oh.
So I want to print that. I want to like ink that up and make prints out of those. And then I also want to make some kind of spinning top toy. So I really need to play with one of those badly pretty soon.
Kind of like all the superheroes coming out, and you get to spin them, and they spin like a top, or like anything you want that's well balanced, or something like that. I mean,
I haven't really figured it out yet, but I used to collect spinning top toys, and then I also used to work at a Lego store where I demoed this spinning top toy thing. So I've just been really into it for a long time. And but yeah, I'm not really sure what it's going to be characterized as yet, like whether it's going to be animals or what kind of special thing it's going to have. But probably metal, something you can make like recordings with. That's sort of what I have nailed down so far.
Wow. Well, I put a top in this little hole up here because to me it was tops represented this hyperbola kind of spinning as a pyramid upside down, and I always thought of two pyramids. Like if you put a top on a mirror, it would spin, it would make a spiral, first of all. So spiral was a sacred geometry shape. And then an hourglass, the pyramid, the top on a mirror would look like an hourglass. And hyperbola is chopping, moving a flat frame in sideways through an hourglass figure where you dissect it, where you slice it in mathematics is like two things that approach one another and move far apart from each other in a mirrored fashion, which is different than just parabola. Parabola is just one, but a hyperbola is both of them. And to me, that's this mental geometric shape that I had encountered years ago, which kicked me into this whole religiosity mode that I'm in. Started with thinking about these geometries and these shapes, and Merkaba. Merkaba is the like the Star of David in 3D form. It's where the two pyramids would collapse into one another, which is another sacred geometry supposedly thing. I don't know if you get off on sacred geometry at all, or whether or not it has any meaning. I didn't think so. You never expressed that even once. So I'm just going off on a tangent there because that's what.
That's okay. No worries.
Yeah. But
that would actually be a really cool project, though, if you built some of those shapes that actually did spin them on a mirror, or like you maybe even put like some kind of nib. Like at the as the spinner. I mean, it would take a bit of doing, but then you could sort of see what they would draw, or it would make kind of cool videos if it was on a mirror, or even like in an opaque projector or something like that.
Yeah. I always thought I could do it if I got into doing 3D animation. That's really where I was going to do it. But I was so crafty in my early years of YouTube. I would put props together and do these three-dimensional model props that I would hang from my ears and my head and my hands and try to relay things. This was before there was a huge crunch in like 2008, 2009 where it ruined a bunch of people's videos from 2006 to 2009. Like 30% of all videos on YouTube got wasted because of this update that they made. I don't know if you were around then.
Right.
But anyway, so I lost some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. So your idea of doing a prop and recording it, like actually putting a top on the mirror would be great. I just don't go to toy stores to look for tops. I should probably do that, but I keep myself on a really tight budget. Unless I sell a paint, which I just sold one. I don't know. Maybe I should go spend some money and buy myself some toys. But saving up for a 3D printer sounds like a good idea also. That doesn't sound too shabby.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I was actually more saying it would be cool to build them, like to build them out of maybe Sculpey or 3D printing, definitely. I mean, making them out of a plastic would be lighter, certainly, so it would be a better idea. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't even know what kind of sweat tops they sell anymore. I mean, outside of like Beyblade and stuff they make for infants. But yeah, far be it from me to have anyone not buy a toy. but yeah, it'd be cool to build it. You could maybe even build it out of Lego.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be interesting to build it at a later. I think it'd be pretty large to do that, but maybe you're right. Maybe that could be done. Huh. What
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to ask you what of all of your action figures and things that you have around you, what would you say is kind of a darker symbol that you have around me that you might be able to feed me that I could add to the content of this painting? Because I have something as mundane as dice, but dice kind of take on this role like they're not, like God doesn't play with dice, therefore they're in the hellish category. Or somebody mentioned earlier, A mentioned, put in Venus flytrap because it's kind of a predatory plant, so it's a little negative, so it gets to go into hell. Like, what would you say you have that you could give me as a symbol? I also put like burning hot dogs and cigarettes and coffee, these mundane things which are my first level of hell, down to sexual depravity and so forth. What would you say you might have that you could inspire me with, if anything?
So you need a sinister toy? Is that what you're
Well, it doesn't have.
something?
Yeah, it could be a toy. Sure, it could definitely be a toy. That'd be kind of nice to put something in, but I can't copy somebody's toy. I don't prefer to copy a toy directly, but like down here I have satyrs and Hathor that's kind of like a satyr, and I was just wondering whether or not you had. I mean, you must have toys that are sinister. I don't know.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Let me dig around. I'll be right back.
yeah,
Oh.
okay, okay. Not to scare you off like that. No, you run and go do a chore for me. Yes, indeedy. Who knows? Who knows? Piro's still in the room, but he's dogging us. Oh, you say you'll eventually dock tonight. You think so, do you, eh? Well, I don't know if I'm going to be on too extra long. It's 6 o'clock my time. I need to shower up and get prepared. Get prepared to go out. Take painkillers, do a quick little workout, hop in the shower, and go out and socialize a little bit. Even though the internet is kind of my socialization process. Yeah, maybe there's a distinction between Lucifer and Satan. I should perhaps do my Luciferian.
Well, speaking of Lucifer, check out what I just brought out. So this is Dessler,
Oh, wow.
and this is something I made when I was a kid, actually. There are toys I could pull out, but they're in really difficult spots to get. So this is.
Yeah, rotate that guy around a little bit for me. I like how
So
you have.
basically, what he is a cone, like a cone that you would wrap like string around, you know. Sometimes the way that stuff is packaged, and then there's his arms are just. Here, wait, let me just move them so you can see how they move a little.
Huh. Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just held on by string, and then there are these polymer clay appendages that are like tied on, basically. So he's actually very delicate. It's amazing that he is in one piece. And I made him when I was like 10 or 11.
Uh-huh.
And he looks like Satan, but he's like supposed to be a deformed werewolf.
Oh, finally the three-dimensionality of the face really stood out there. Before I thought it were his fangs were paintings on a neck, and now I see what's going on there. I see them as fangs. I really like how you have the jaw horn bones. Those are really nice. I hadn't considered adding horn bones to the jaw in a while, but yeah, that's something else. Good. Good
Yeah,
grief.
he's. Oops, sorry, I thought I froze. Yeah, no, that's funny. You thought it was a painting. Yeah, no, the quality of the video is so bad too on this camera that it's kind of hard to see him. But
Oh no, I see it now for sure. Right on. Well, good. That is inspirational for for how I want to put this together. Um, yeah, and it's very hell-like, and you got the red skin, so we got all that down. It's kind of interesting trying to figure out like, okay, what is hell like that's inspirational? You got devils, you got demons, you got Lucifer, you got horned animals, you got Egyptian gods, which I kind of put in the hellish category, but I don't really think about them in a hellish way. But I think people encountering Egyptian god uh, artifacts or imagery kind of think of them as dark imagery, at least in the modern day. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. It's kind of I'm I'm not really certain what it is I'm questing for exactly, but you did give me that image will help because I think I'm going to put jaw horn bones on something um, on one of my demons here.
Sweet.
Yeah, and that's kind of when I started doing this, I thought this might function as a communal project where people could input something into the piece. But for the most part, I was just I was like I just wanted to do a record of me painting, so I had an idea of what it was I was doing when I came up with a certain idea and who it is I was talking to and what we were talking about in order for me to generate the idea that I wanted to generate. So you're helping me out with that, as you know, as you may know.
Happy to help, happy to help. But yeah, no, I really do think it. I mean, I've said it before, but I think it's great that you're doing this, and I think it's just really, it's always just really great to see anybody make some art on either YouTube or Tiny Chat or whatever. And yeah, I love it, and I really, I do mean it. I do want to start making some responses. Today is like the first day I've even felt halfway decent this week, but no, I mean, I don't. I'm probably not going to do any paintings per se because I'll explain that whole thing. But painting is kind of a difficult like subject for me. But I haven't. I used to draw like constantly. It was my entire life was to draw, and I really have lost that over the years. And so it might be. I'm trying to see if I can maybe use this opportunity to get back into it again. And so there's a lot of things I want to experiment with, and yeah, and trying to learn how to have a conversation through that might be a good thing to know how to do.
I was trying to figure out what exactly was turning people off from Professor CWI, other than his really low tone, hyper depressive, abnormal painting processes. I was like, what is the key? Why don't people watch his stuff? And I thought, well, since I started doing this, I went from like 140 views down to 8 views on a video. So I realized people aren't necessarily caught up in the process of drawing itself by any means. It's more who I'm talking to that they tune in for. Um,
But
and
the funny thing is that if you were like if you were whispering the whole time and then you put ASMR in your title, you'd be getting tons of views. It's just funny little ways of manipulating. But but yeah, I think it is kind of an alien process for most people, and they don't. It's I mean I really think it's insane that Jason doesn't have more of an audience. I mean he's been doing it for so long and he puts out so much content. You would think that there'd be more people watching.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and he doesn't do a live chat room, but then again, he only gets about 5 views of video, so even if he did put it out, he might get somebody, but I don't know, like if he joined in this chat room or Gary's chat room on Saturdays and painted, you'd probably get more of a following or people interested in his artwork in general. But who am I to make any recommendation for anybody else? I've got my own struggles as as trying to get my art known and get a following. And the Das Poop channel isn't even my art channel. You know, I have an art channel that I do my speed paintings on, and I have like 100 subscribers, and I get, you know, maybe 30 views a video. It's not all that. So, but yeah, and I couldn't figure out why you and Amanda were all giddy about this as a project, other than you had mentioned. I guess you guys had talked about it beforehand as doing something like that. But I don't know. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Amanda? Can you tell me a little bit of what was going on there?
Yeah, no, he's painted for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
he's done a lot of paintings actually. And I think he's kind of I mean, I think he's, from what he's told me, he's kind of, looking for a way into a different kind of painting. You know what I mean? Because a lot of his paintings, like in the past when he was like selling stuff, he'd make stuff that people would order, or he did a lot of animals, or he did self-portraits. But like the kind of painting where you paint like from imagination is not a kind of painting that he's got to do a lot of.
Uh-huh.
So I know he's been interested in trying that out. So yeah, I think that's why he jumped on that opportunity. And like I said, I just really, I mean, I kind of like, okay, so I'll give you the sob story a little bit. My father was a painter. He was an oil painter, and he was a complete asshole. And so I have a lot of angst where painting is concerned, I have to admit. So I kind of, there is a part of me that's kind of interested in getting past that a little bit, and I noticed that it really does affect my ability to want to draw. So if I can kind of like use the opportunity to sort of reclaim for myself, at least drawing, that would be really awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, and I guess like he and I are also just really both interested in people being creative in the video format, and I mean, it's weird that there hasn't been like a site like YouTube just dedicated to people making artwork, and and just being at art school too. It's weird how few people use video as part of their process, no matter what kind of work they're making, and I kind of want to encourage more of that,
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair to say. I am surprised, and when you mention that, I mean, Instagram is probably the best thing for artists to throw their work on and gather a following strictly for art. But I would think you're right. If there was a YouTube type of website that you would go to, or a subsect of YouTube, that you'd have tons of people filming tattoo artists constantly, uploading tattoo artists' work, and then it would be great to get sculptures and everything. Are you subscribed to Hey Rodney or Hello Rodney?
No, I don't think I am. I will go subscribe. What does he do?
Well, he's a painter, and I think he's in his late 50s. He's a painter, and he lives in New Mexico, out in the middle of nowhere, and he does political commentary every now and again, but he likes to talk about his paintings, and I don't know. He's kind of interesting. He's from the old guard, so to speak, of YouTube. I found him when I was getting involved in a paint and pass that someone was doing, and I really think a paint and pass would be a good idea for maybe you, Gary, and I, and Jason could all start a paint and pass where somebody starts a painting, and then they ship it off to the other one and allow them to manipulate the painting while leaving a little bit or a large portion of that what was previously inherited until it's all grouped together, and then
An exquisite corpse.
until it's an explicit corpse, if that's what you said.
Exquisite corpse.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Okay, well, let's count on that then. Hey, tell me, what is ASMR? I don't know what that is. You said that earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah. ASMR. Okay, so I always forget what it stands for, but it's basically. So I think it's safe to say about a year ago, people started making these videos of, you know, themselves like whispering. Basically, it's
Oh,
all these different actions that people do that inspire in others, like these tingle sensations or some sort of deep relaxation.
okay.
Um, a lot of people use it in order to sleep, but people make these videos in these really, really interesting ways. I mean, the really typical way is to make a video of yourself like whispering and tapping on things, or
Right.
like blowing into the microphone. People make them with like binaural microphones, so it's this very sort of intimate sound experience. And it also gets like heavily into role play because like some of the most um, like prevalent ASMR fantasies are like having your eyes examined and getting a haircut or but and then there's other people like Ephemeral Rift who are starting to do like really like these heavy post-apocalyptic ASMR videos, and they're really dark as hell. A lot of them are based on like H.P. Lovecraft and his own
Uh,
sort of sick blend, but they're very relaxing at the same time. So it's this very bizarre sort of phenomenon on YouTube, and they're getting tons of views. These videos are like super popular, and they're long as hell. Um, and I don't really, I have no understanding or I don't know if there's any actual like science behind it, but I just think that, yeah, I mean, it is often very relaxing to sort of hear these things, and I don't get the tingle sensation, but I do sort of understand that. I mean, if you've had sort of instances where like somebody's just speaking very, very gently and kindly to you,
uh-huh.
you get those very sort of relaxing, sensations in the back of your head, and um, so people get like addicted to them, because, and I think it's just, I mean, I have kind of a half-baked theory that it's like people are so like desperate for that, just like that kindness, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just it's a very sort of like a full loving experience
Well,
to
don't
listen to one of these,
don't people
videos.
do really long ASMR videos and then like at the end just like scream as loud as they can and just shake the shit out of people's emotion? I mean, you'd think
I
they would
haven't
do
seen that happen, but I'm sure there's some form of ASMR Rickroll,
that.
but yeah, I haven't seen that happen too much.
Right on. Well, so
You probably honestly would like Ephemeral Rift, though. It's very strange stuff.
yeah, when you mentioned it, I remember seeing that as a kind of a little phenomenon that was coming across the tubes. But it was nothing that ever sparked my interest. But now that you've mentioned it, I'm thinking, maybe if I did just do a long whisper and title it that on one of these videos, that would be something pleasant. And I am depicting hell on the bottom of my painting, and then I move up to earth, which is just a force, about 4 or 5 inches wide area, and then I move into this heavenly painter Jesus Christ mode. And maybe when I'm up in that kind of heavenly area, I can do like happy little trees and little cherubs and stuff like that, and just kind of be kind and nice, as opposed to doing an ASMR. Okay, now I'm doing Lucifer with 4 arms, inspired by old fan, and just kind of, you know, trying to
Yeah,
work it out
I
that
think
way.
that's great. I think it's just something really interesting to experiment with. I mean, I have less an interest in the technique than just I'm really interested in what goes viral. So yeah, I'm gonna start doing some funny ones, but probably on my other channels and on Vine.
Yeah, yeah, Vines are really interesting. I've done some of those, but I don't know where to upload them where other people would see them, and it's just like localized to my phone, and I don't know where on the Vine website they may be being watched. I don't have a clue, so I don't know quite how that's worked out. But that's just
Yeah,
more
it's
of
a
my
very
ignorance.
strange system. It's because it's like as far as I know, you can only upload from a phone. I thought maybe you could like make a little video, and maybe you could do that though, because I think maybe you can you might be able to import them into like your video and photo section of your phone itself and then upload from that. But I think the normal way of uploading from Vine is, well, the way I did one last night actually, and you have to sort of hold down on the screen for 7 seconds and just record yourself during that time, and then it uploads automatically. It's not a great upload system, and they really should open it up, as an app for desktops if they haven't already.
My deal is that I mean I know it on my phone because I've done it on my phone, and then it says it's done and that it's uploading. I just don't know where it's uploading to. Like, where do you go just to see people's Vines? Do you go to Vine.com and it'll just show, like, is everybody's Vine become public? And if so, can you see yours and see how many people have seen it and that type of thing? Or what am I missing there?
No, to tell you the truth, I've been trying to answer those same questions because there are Vine viewers, that are I just found on by searching on Google, and they do collect Vines, and I don't know whether you're viewing them directly from Vine or whether they've been scraped from Vine, so to speak. Like, I don't know whether they're basically bootlegs of some sort, like and re-uploaded to those particular sites, like if they're an archive. And I don't know whether you don't really end up on one of those sites unless you have a certain number of views, so whether it's based on popularity. I don't know. I mean, if you do it from your phone, there is a way of just looking at your profile, and being able to see your stuff there. But it's not very. It really has so few options too, and it is kind of a mess and confusing, and I can't even begin to imagine how much content is uploaded to that site every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be similar to YouTube, I think. Just mass amounts, just unending, constantly.
Yeah, definitely. It don't take long to shoot 7 seconds.
Excuse me a second.
Take your time.
It was the quickest bathroom break I could figure out how to do. Oh yeah, I'm going to take another quick little break here from drawing. I'm taking a quick little break so I can actually consume something.
Oh yeah, sounds good. Do what you need to do.
Yep, it's a yogurt break. But
nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a video on. Well, actually, I should turn this around. I'll let you take a look at the last painting, the most recent painting that I finished. I don't know if you'll be able to see it well, but it's a big sucker.
Wow. It is big.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, I can see it much more clearly now. Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I know what to make of it. I don't know how to start describing it, but I need to get into description mode. And,
yeah, no, it's got great depth to it. I mean, it's neat how far back it goes in. Well, still feeling very, just from the way I'm seeing it right now, it almost feels kind of medieval in a sense too, though.
Oh,
I mean, even with or without sort of the religious imagery.
Right. I mean, this one was a very interpersonal piece for me. Well, I shouldn't say interpersonal, but intrapersonal. And, but I call it an allegory of an archangel, so it does have religious meaning to me and so forth. But I was going to make a video just talking about my personal experiences related to this painting and what the symbols mean to me, and just discussing the painting in general. So I'll probably do that here coming up soon. I keep saying I'm going to do it, I just haven't got around to it. but I like the piece, and it's wall size. It's 5 by 6 feet, so it's cool to do these humongous pieces.
How long did that one take you?
2.5 months. Like I
Yep.
move just super slowly.
Tell you the truth, I mean, that's pretty fast. I mean, I've definitely worked on, sculptures for a year, or Tiger Lilies took me almost 2 years, you want to know the truth, so I don't know, I like going at that, I like slow-paced work, but yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent, but,
No, I don't mind.
yeah, it's awesome how big it is.
Yeah,
But yeah, it looks,
after I did that,
I
I
look
got
forward to the
addicted
video.
to the idea of doing big paintings. It's like, okay, just keep doing large paintings. I do, in the summertime, I do festivals and farmers markets, so I have a little tent. And I never have, on the side of my canopy, I don't have, big plastic white walls that I drop down on the side. And so I want paintings as my walls. And so that's partially why I'm painting these large ones, is because when I'm out there, I want just people to see these humongous paintings and just like, whoa, goo on them from a distance, and then totally attract to my booth is kind of the idea, and then hopefully sell the damn thing.
But I think that's really smart because, I mean, for your style or whatever, the correct word would be, I mean, it's, especially with the size that they are now, to create an environment, as opposed to just like a selling space, as a way for other people into your work. I think it'd be a really, really, really wise thing to do. And so that'd be awesome. You gotta take videos of your booth if you end up doing that.
Did you say take pity on my booth?
Take video.
Take video. Right, right. Well, no, I did have one short video that I posted on YouTube that's probably, back in May of last year, is, maybe 20, 30 seconds long of one of my booths. But, yeah.
I think I may have seen that one. Yeah, because you had cards, too, you were handing out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you went to a cafe.
Sell
I
prints
think I
and
remember that
stuff.
video.
I unfortunately got into a bit of a weird wrangle with the manager of that festival, and so I'm wondering whether or not I pissed her off or not, whether or not she's gonna keep me from getting back in there or not. I hope not. But at the same time,
What did you do?
well, I like controversy and drama. I just don't want it to, affect me negatively. That's the whole thing. Um, I plan on starting a site, and I don't know whether or not this is anything that you think would be interesting to do, but it's an art selling site that promotes its proceeds go to housing the homeless. But and I thought, hey, this is an ethical site that sells artwork to house the homeless. But the thing about it is, it's not a regular business. It's a multi-level marketing company. So it's it's layered that way. And I thought, God, if I get that off the ground, then each month I'd be mailing out prints from each artist that I buy art off of, and the rights of their art out to the public. And so it was really gnawing at me, and I've been talking to software developers about it and getting an idea about it. It's just that I haven't pulled the trigger on it just yet. Part of it feels a little ethically unethical, unethic, that the most right you could do with a wrong, so to speak, is kind of how I look at it. But I don't know what you feel about something like that. What do you think about that idea?
Well, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, it sounds like it's worth trying. I mean, I think one thing that would be difficult about it too is how to promote it. I mean, it's hard to get people interested in buying work. I mean, as you know, I mean, and prints especially. I mean, so wait a minute, before I go on, I mean, when you say prints, do you make handmade prints of any kind, or do you have them printed?
Well, personally, I don't make handmade prints. I always have my prints printed, but I sign them and number them depending on if they're open or closed edition. And with this company, I thought I would do the same thing. I thought I would buy the rights to artwork and then have it printed, fly the artist out, have them sign each print, and then ship the print off each month. Was kind of the idea. But
And how would you plan on like getting the word out about it? Like through videos, and
yeah,
that would be a way of separating Vine. That would be really easy. Do it that way.
yeah, maybe Vine would be a way to do it. I'm not really certain, to be honest, what how yeah, that it would in a way be self-marketing because, it would be a money-making opportunity for people, so they would be trying to get other people involved in it. So it'd be self-marketing in one respect, and then there are different marketing companies and ways to go about marketing oneself. I even thought, there's ways you can buy views for YouTube and for videos and buy subscribers and stuff like that. I mean, I've experimented with that on a private channel of mine to see how well it worked, and it's pretty proficient. And so there are marketing techniques out there that I thought if I do it, I have to really put a lot of time and effort into maintaining it and promoting it. And so I would have to be figuring out different marketing, possibilities. Companies that deal with search engine optimization and so forth to do that. And I don't know. I've got my fingers dipped in a few things. I was just kind of wondering what you thought about it as a concept.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it as a concept. I mean, I don't know as much about, business models or how to make something, like that run as well. I should. I mean, and there's a lot of, art legal issues that I'm not as up to date on as I really ought to be. So there is that. But I definitely like it as a concept, and I think I don't know. I think that is a hole that needs to be, filled in some kind of way as far as internet artists, um, creating some sort of almost salon or something for themselves. You know what I mean? I mean, creating some sort of community, um, and ways of generating work, and through, regular, schools of art, and also internet-based art. I mean, that would be really interesting. So yeah, I think it's great as a concept. I mean, how to do it as ethically as it needs to be done, I know I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
I mean, I just being honest, I wouldn't even know where to begin. But if you can get it to do what it needs to do, then yeah, why not?
Right. Yeah, garnering your feedback on it a little bit kind of helps me think like, yeah, okay, well, I could execute it. I just need to complete the process and get it done. And just to hear you give me even any words of encouragement without like slamming it ethically right out of the gate is kind of interesting. I think, for example, if I were to have Gary on and I mentioned it to him, that he would think it was a fucked up idea, and just because it would be in a pyramidical structure. And I didn't know what your feedback would be on it, but I'm glad you're giving me, if it has to do with art and promotion and sales, I guess I figured that you would probably have a positive reaction to it.
Well, I don't know how he'd react. I mean, if if there was some
Not that it
reason that
matters.
I just don't have in my own head about like why it would be impossible to do ethically, I don't know. Maybe my opinion would change, but I don't know if it would be, coming from what I know, I don't know if it could be done, the way
Right.
it would need to be. But if you can, I do think that's something worth trying to work for. I mean,
Mm.
it is a good, at the very least, it's an excellent sentiment to want to do that and to also be able to promote, art at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it can be done, I'm certainly not against that. I don't think he would be either, honestly.
Well, it was weird. It doesn't really matter. Like his approval doesn't matter in any respect. It was just more like if I bounced it off of people that I interact with on the tubes, I thought who would be most against this, and I thought probably Amanda. Amanda would probably be most against. So, and since you're good pals with him in a lot of respects, I thought I wonder whether or not Amanda would find this to be like a money milking business that was, not without enough merits to warrant its promotion. But I bounced it off you also, Amanda, to see whether or not, conceptually, whether or not that's something that you would like to get involved in. No, you're not kidding on that.
I see. No, I thank you, and yeah, I mean, I'm always willing to get involved with different projects. So yeah, I mean, I mean, as far as a web building, on that level, I wouldn't even know. I mean, the kind of websites I'm able to build are more like archives, and I don't know if I'd be able to build something that would, be functional enough for what you're thinking of. But yeah, I mean, I maybe even would be happy to donate some art. Wouldn't have to be. I mean, maybe one way of thinking about it is to have, events of some sort as a way of starting out. I mean, I'm just sort of brainstorming.
Right.
But if you could maybe start this whole thing just as an idea, with building some sort of event around raising money, and had artists, donate, and maybe some of it went to the creation of the website. I don't know. It depends. I don't know enough about what a website that would need.
Right, because
necessarily.
I'm thinking I need to take out some loans, and I need to get people involved in it as an idea, and
I do worry you'd end up. I mean, just this is all tentative, but I do end up worrying that you would end up spending more money in the development of something like this than you'd be able to get back from the work itself. But that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you might be able to get some, fairly established people involved. Yeah. That would really help.
Yeah, it certainly would. That certainly would help. And I did think about that, like, okay, I got to get big name artists and so forth involved just to make certain people are wanting to, if they're going to be buying art, that they're getting art that's already been around the block, so to speak. But I don't want to exclude myself from entry because I'm the owner of the company. Shit.
Well, one idea I just had is maybe what you could do is you could, start something up, however form that would take. But I may be mistaken, and excuse me if I am, but I mean, you do have some ins with like some galleries and whatnot. I mean, maybe you could propose, a show about basically what you're doing, and it would not only be sort of a showcase of the work itself, but also like, internet sort of art community life, in some kind of way. I don't know exactly how you'd present that, but if you tried to have a show for it, with some kind of, whatever, hopefully more than what I have in my head now is a little bit half baked, but some sort of art historical narrative based on creating art community on the internet. That might be an interesting way of generating interest,
Well, on another note, I'm curious, who are your art heroes in general? I mean, and your sculptor heroes. Do you have any that you would say?
My sculptor heroes are the nameless sculptors of bootleg action figures. So probably people that unfortunately work in sweatshops making these things. and they're my heroes on several counts. But I don't know a lot about sculpture, to tell you the truth. I don't really know a lot of my primary knowledge of sculpture comes from toys. So they're basically artists that you never learn the name of. As far as like drawing goes, I mean, Joe Coleman is one of them. I love Joe Coleman, Robert Crumb. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of more into movies, filmmakers. So,
Right.
let's see, who can I think of offhand? I love Werner Herzog. He's definitely an art hero of sorts.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. It's hard for me to come up with them offhand, but
Well, what would you say your favorite genre of movies are, and who do you praise in the movie industry in general, or historically speaking?
well, let's go with I like more experimental kind of cinema. So I guess one of my favorite movies I could say is the 1987, I believe, remake of Cabinet of Dr. Caligari called just Caligari, and or Dr. Caligari, sorry, and it was directed and written by a director called Steven Sayadin. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name. He also goes by the name of Rinstream, and just his combination of these almost perfect one-liners mixed with this incredibly um, experimental and theatric um, style of filmmaking is just intoxicating to me.
Huh. Wow. That's all people I don't think I've ever heard of.
Yeah, he's most known for the movie Cafe Flesh, which is one of the most famous X-rated movies of all time. It's sort of like it's a porno, but it's more about like the loss of sexuality. Um, and so he's most known for that. He's made a lot of shit, I have to admit, but Cafe Flesh and Caligari, I really do highly recommend.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Now I tried to write down Caligari, and I wrote down Calogari. Caligari. I don't know if that's
I'm
right.
not sure if that's how you. I can send you a link.
Yeah, feel free to drop it in there. That'd be fine. That'd be great.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to box up the hell area and make it more squarish or make it more organic. I got to make it more organic in some respects, but it's turning out to be a box of sorts.
You could make like layers, like Dante's Hell.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's why the top layer is kind of benign symbolism that people come across, and then it moves into more like bats and caves and dark tunnels and things like that, and then it moves into uh, distorted animal figures and Egyptian gods and pans and flesh, and then it's moving into sexual kind of warish things, and then it'll just be fire, and then it'll be Satan in the fiery pit, and but it's not 9 levels by any means. But I looked up Dante to see if I could get some ideas from him.
Oh, okay, I hadn't realized it was layered quite like that. That's neat. I put the link to Caligari in the thing, but yeah, I was actually thinking Hell was more segmented to the bottom, and I didn't realize that it was okay. So I get the composition a lot more now.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, from the angle of this laptop or desktop, it's kind of hard, but that's my Satan down here, and then this would be like my Lucifer sitting in a chair over here, not really necessarily having to be that, and then I have demons here, a satyr here, and a Egyptian goddess here, and down here is a little sex scene, and this is kind of the warrior level, so it's yeah, up here is kind of symbolism, and then here's kind of the bats and caves, and then here's more of the monsters, and then here's war and sex, and then fire will be here, and then the the river of flames will be here, something like that. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, we'll see, we'll see. And the whole Joe Coleman area is up top, and I should kind of, in a way, feel like I'm dedicating it to him because it is just precise segments and holes of just base symbols all thrown into one there, and then Earth starts right up above that layer. But I don't know. I don't want to do too much talking about it because I don't want to jinx the piece. Damn it, it's got to be a good piece. Fuck it up. It'd suck. It'd suck if I fucked it up. You know what I mean? But yeah. Oh, what do you got?
It's back. Sorry, it was frozen for a second.
Oh,
that was my little warning. It just says I'm frozen. So.
Oh, I thought it said I'm
everything
finished.
just stopped for a second.
Right.
Sorry, no. But yeah, I don't want to. I know some of my questions are a little. I don't mean to be invasive at all with talking about composition and whatnot. But yeah, I certainly don't want to intrude at all.
No, you've been great. You've been great. Each person, I kick into a different mode of thinking when I'm working with each person or I'm listening to them. When I'm putting the pencil to canvas. With you, I am a little more kickback, taking coffee breaks, yogurt breaks, bathroom breaks, kind of more conversational. I did get a little, I got my little guy, my little forearm guy done there. But I need to start putting in more abstruse imagery in through the whole thing. Because if I make it too particularized or too concrete, it would be like me attempting to do a 3D animation as opposed to just moving into abstract realms and allowing the paint to be paint at some point, allowing my to not be representational of symbolism that I've seen before, but more highly inventive and choreographed than just segmenting symbols and putting them in. Something more visceral that speaks to hell, as opposed to just like, oh, here's a fly-like larvae that's got an attitude. Here's a dead fish with some holes in it. It's more like, oh, this is a robotic fish whale that's been smeared out and catapulted, and it's tied to candy canes and lizard shit. It's something that has got to bound these images together and make some form of sense of them. Um, and it would be nice if I had symbols that also had a mnemonic relationship to one another. So when you set them, hourglass, nut, something else that you are able to get into a litany of description that has some tonality to it. But I don't think I'm moving in that sophisticated realm. I didn't pre-plan it as well as I could have. But anyway, I feel like this is my own interview show, and I've got you on it, which is great.
Yeah, it definitely has that quality of being like a brain map, and it would be kind of, yeah. I mean, I like what you're talking about doing though with numbering it and almost like a medical illustration or something like that. Is kind of what it's reminding me of from your description.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever do any writing when you do these?
I normally flop into more of a writerly mode, and then I move into a painterly mode, and I rarely mix the two. Sometimes it's more journal keeping, and then no, I don't tend to do writing of it, but maybe that would help if I wrote down what was going on and why I'm describing what I'm describing. But it's more like I like to just draw what I'm drawing, and then at the end try to extrapolate a narrative that matches what it is I'm doing. I like the
Yeah, it's
nuance
such a
though.
thin line, isn't it? It's like, just in terms of process. I mean, it's like for me personally, I'm always trying to see like what other elements I can add to it, so that it's almost like one thing becomes more work, like more output than it is. But it's like you can, so it's like if I'm sculpting, then I always have a piece of paper next to me because little one-liners or something pop into my head. So it's also a writing, project, and then maybe I'm filming myself, so it's also a film project, and then and sometimes that's like if I don't do that, it's a really horrible experience because I'm so deeply in touch with like what I could be doing and what I'm not doing. But then sometimes I do all of it, and it totally ruins the experience because it's too much. I don't know. It's a
Right.
really it's quite a tightrope.
Yeah, it sounds delicate. Definitely sounds like a delicate process there. Yeah, I did think if I did start that business idea up, how much more time I would be spending trying to do businesses and control art and get printing done, get shipping done, as opposed to just working on art. But sometimes I ultimately get really sick of just meditating on art pieces also and doing it. And it's like, okay, it's time to, put more time into labor and volunteering and doing other things because I do spend a lot of time, alone, sketching, listening to YouTube, kind of just doing my thing and so perhaps a business would save me in a way, but in another way it might harm me also. I'm not really certain how to comment
Yeah, I
on
mean,
that.
yeah, I know it's just self-actualization is definitely a full-time job, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I just, I wish I could sort of, remove myself out of it a lot more than I'm able to, and have more of a life outside of it, like as you're talking about. But it is really hard, and I mean, one of the ways of doing that is trying to figure out the whole money thing, and I have been really bad about that. I mean, I haven't. I'm not at all good at making money from my work. So I sympathize. Is all I'm saying. I mean, I also need to find a solution, but yeah, I mean, as far as how to do it ethically and how to do it honestly, it's I mean, those are big questions for me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I'm sure maybe you've had this experience too, but I mean, a lot of my work just freaks the shit out of people. So
Yeah.
it's there's that too. It's trying to find an audience that's going to be willing to accept it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I got a booth and there's people that paint landscapes or really nice, interesting like children, girls holding teddy bears and hanging out in bed or out in the field and landscape photographers and stuff like that. And they come across my booth and it's really stark kind of graffiti clowns in their face and then, kind of these horrific pieces of imagery and so forth. And it is interesting. I get a lot of people going, "Ew, God, that's disgusting. I hate clowns. Clowns are scary." And just there is a huge repulsive nature to what it is I'm doing, and yet I purposely don't make my art disgusting and gory. Of course, that's what I have to do in this piece. I have to put some gory imagery in, but I purposely try not to do gore or hyper violent clowns because I'm not really trying to jar people. I'm trying to get people to recognize the concept of dark clowns as opposed to like of happy dark clowns as opposed to something that's violent that's going to take them over. Um, and that's kind of my mode. But I hear what you're saying. It's a select audience, and then even from the people that can get through it and don't just walk on by, or are repelled from it, it's a more select audience of who looks at the artwork more closely, and then even more select about who buys the artwork. And so it's kind of it is a rough racket. It's a rough racket.
Well, I have to say, in all honesty, I always was sort of impressed that you even did the whole, fair art, fair art fair kind of stuff. Because that is I mean, it can certainly be a very punishing world, of art, especially for any of those of us that do difficult work of one kind or another. I mean, I wouldn't, I don't even think they'd let me do, show a lot of my work um, in places like that. So my prints are pretty. I mean, I don't typically do very gory stuff either, to tell you the truth, even though I would perhaps like to. I've never done that stuff particularly well, but a lot of my work is kind of sexually disturbing, I would say,
Right.
my print work and whatnot. So, I mean, this might be sort of tangential, but are you familiar at all with Agent of Doubt? Because he made a video about this not long ago, and I had meant to make a response to it, but I just never got around to it. But he's a painter. I've never seen his work, but he apparently also does the whole art fair thing, and I don't know, his perspective on it was very strange to my ears.
No, I don't know who Agent of Doubt is. I don't know who that is, but I'm open to subscribing and finding out who he is.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to this video he made, because he was making the argument that, you know, basically that anybody who's not making, enough money to fully support themselves as an artist has no right to call themselves that, and he was being able to do that from these, art fairs, and I just was like, I mean,
How
I strongly, strongly, strongly disagree with any of that, but
yeah, how
I mean, I'm
convenient.
not going to the art fairs. I mean, I wouldn't even have that option of doing
How
one of those. But yeah, I'll send you that video.
how convenient of him to say that, like, oh, if you're not making money, you don't have a right to call yourself an artist. It's like, well then, then fuck you if you're not in a New York Soho gallery, you don't have a right to call yourself an art. If you're not in front of 200 million people on a weekly basis, you don't have a right to call yourself an artist. I mean, I just think what an absurdity, what an asinine comment to make. I think, I mean, there's a motive behind what he's saying, and I understand the motive, but I don't. I think it's awful to hear that line of bullshit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally grew up with that sentiment about art, and I detest it, you know, I completely detest it completely. I mean, I just hate all these, rules that artists make about who's what, and who gets to be this and who gets to be that. It's just like, fucking art's for everybody. I hate it. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah, very very peculiar. Yeah, I used to think, for myself, how am I to call myself an artist if I'm not living off of my art? For myself, I thought that, and that overlooks the whole idea of, well, how is the overall economy doing, and how am I doing, and how are other artists doing relative to the economy, and what is it I'm putting forth, what's my current genre, and but I don't know. As an artist, I keep moving through genres. I keep moving through techniques. I feel like I'm a teacher for myself. Kind of like I feel like I'm an artist's artist in a way, but that's obscene to say also. Kind of self-presumptive. At the same time, it's more like I'm just exercising out art the way I want to do art. I don't feel like I'm doing art for other people. And different artists have different motivations. Some people are just working out their demons, and other people are trying to sell their art, and other people are at some halfway point. Some people are making political statements, and other people are just doing nonsense for fame's sake, and there's just different motivations and different processes, and to really narrow it down to what a definition of artist is, or what an artist is supposed to be doing, or what their caliber is I don't know. I think it's stupid to some extent, but I don't know. I mean, if you want to say I'm a professional artist, well, professional means you're making money off of your art, but you know, the people that make money in galleries are not necessarily out promoting their stuff in a tent like I am. You know, there's different calibers there. So whoever this guy is that you're talking about, I think he could use some humbling. Yeah, I would think, but
Yeah, without question. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I just think, I basically, I love anybody that just makes work. You know what I mean? That's all I care about. Are you making work or not?
yeah,
And people do it really well sometimes, and people do it really, really bad, and maybe they do it for what I would perceive as the wrong reasons, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm very naive in that way, but I like letting the art or the work itself kind of, be whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, if you want to call yourself an artist, go for it. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, like, look, I'm in graduate school right now for art, and I still, in my graduate school studio, get called an outsider artist sometimes by professors. So it's like, so somehow I'm not an artist, and even though, technically, by a lot of people's standards, if you have been through the art school thing, that's when you get to call yourself by such a name, and it's just ridiculous. It's so arbitrary, and
right. It is.
It's like I think people aren't very accepting of just how subjective it is anyway, and it's just trying to find all these rules to it. It's just, I don't know.
No,
waste of time.
No, you're speaking good. You're dropping good nuggets here, and I really appreciate that. It even makes for a good video.
Indeed, it does. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's
No, but what you're
yeah,
saying.
it's good to talk about this stuff.
Well, yeah, what you said about the subjective. I mean, art. Some people paint to represent reality in a very kind of bland, very nice, pleasant way, and then you get the romantic artists who put a little twist on reality. Their ship is sinking in a harsh ocean, and then you move into subjective realms, and some of them are light and easygoing and pleasant, and other ones are really dark, and some are somewhere in between, and it's just some are abstract and have no representationalism, and other ones are very real to the person that's doing them in their mind, and I mean, yeah, it's like you said, that it's subject to the person doing it. What are they bringing to the table? How are they doing it? And I think, yeah, I mean, whatever this colossal pyramidical hierarchical notion of what an artist is based on what you're doing. I mean, you're in some Chicago art school, I assume, and whoever the professors are, I mean, are they a household name? Whoever says this, are they an Andy Warhol? Are they a Picasso? Or are they a Coleman? Or who are they to be saying what they're saying? And I mean, I grant them their subjectivity too. I grant them their what it is art means to them and how they want to make a political stance to it. But I don't know. I feel like I'm teaching myself always new techniques. So I feel like I'm a teacher, but I'm teaching myself. So I'm not a professor, because I also had this notion of, those who can't do teach. And then I thought, well, that's an asinine attitude and paradigm to have also. So I don't buy that. There's a lot of professors that sell their work and show their work and have, great contributions as well. But anyway, I'm getting on a monologue, and hell, you're here, so.
No, but I appreciate what you're saying, and I mean, I think it's a big distinction, though. I mean, like, oh, did it boot me out?
No, you're here. I still hear you.
Sorry, I just got like a warning saying reported web forgery. And it took me to another window, so sorry. I thought everything went away. I think it's okay now, though. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that it's, I mean, people create work that's very subjective, but also it's just the criticism of work and the is also very subjective too, and it's, I mean, I had to read Clement Greenberg, last semester, and it's just like, it's just the opinion of one guy, and the amount the anxiety that it provokes in young artists even now is just like such a waste of time. But anyway, I don't even mean to get on that subject, but
I have no idea who that is.
He wrote, okay, so I can't remember the titles exactly of his works, and he may have been a philosopher of the time too. But he was also an art critic. I don't know enough about him, but he wrote about kitsch. So it's like this idea that if oh God, I'm so bad with art history and these fucking concepts sometimes, but that if the general public was enjoying abstraction, let's say, that it was like the death of art. I mean, he was constantly like Chicken Little running around saying, "This is the death of art. This is the death of art," and it's just so funny how many people are still stuck, and worrying about it. And it's like, it doesn't. I don't know. It just feels like, I mean, to me that his complaints and his worries just all feel like, sand in a sieve. I just can't believe they hold water. I mean, it's just one opinion based on, one subjective opinion based on really subjective shit. It's just strange to me.
Okay. No, I appreciate you saying that too. Yeah, art critics. What the world can do with less, critics. I don't know. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's got their outlook on it. And okay, here's something that I fight with a great deal, and I wonder whether or not I should be transitioning into it. Is just moving into digital art, whether it's 3D art or digital illustration. That the idea of painting on canvas, it's like, this is a throwback. This is going to be like people who learn to make violins. It's like it's already moving in such a way that to do canvas art will be something that's taught in the 101 level classes, and then immediately everything should be moved to digital art. It's like, but that's where so much of our gratification from art and media, video games, and so forth comes from, where an appreciation for a canvas-based art is not, it's the very paradigm, the very possibility of valuing art that hangs on a wall as opposed to art that shows up on a TV is going to be different. And even immediately, all art that's shot on a canvas is photographed and put into the digital realm anyway. So I don't know. I don't know what you have to say about that. My defense of it is that the textures and the process, the way in which the medium is used itself, will relate something differently than could be done in computer art, and therefore it still maintains a value. But I don't know. I don't know if you have any commentary on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is something I've been thinking more about, and it's particularly interesting to have witnessed a little something like that in art schools in the last 10 years with basically the slow death of film. I mean, if you go to most art schools now, you can't do wet photography. You know what I mean? Like printing photographs and developing film, whether it's for movies or for, just still photography, is a thing of the past. And I mean, it's getting that way. It's almost gone. I mean, most print departments used to have their own photo labs, and that's a thing of the past. But it's interesting to consider, like, print, is a good example of this, where, like, lithography is still being done, stone lithography. And I don't really see those things going away completely. And I do think that with painting as the main example, I think that painting is probably going to be like one of the last mediums to die. I mean, I think people are going to hang on to painting for a long, 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 long time, just in my opinion, because it is it is everybody's, like, it is the medium that most people, like, think of, when they think of what art is, what
Right.
great
Okay.
art is painting. So I do think people are going to be chasing that lion's tail for a long, long time to come. But I also, I mean, I'm very interested in the idea of, do we really need, like, how long do we really need the original? Like, I'm very interested in archiving and building archives. And, it's like you make something, okay, it's great, but like you said, it just gets photographed and thrown into the digital. And so, I mean, what is it really worth, for us to,
Well,
be keeping these originals and constantly, spending tons of money warehousing and archiving these originals? And why
uh,
isn't the digital enough, and like, do we really need museums anymore? I mean, it is great. I mean, I'm slightly playing devil's advocate when I say that, but I mean, I would, certainly from an ego point of view, I'd love to have my work in a museum someday, just because I've grown up, attaching huge value to that. But I would absolutely love for all the museums to close down, everything to be well photographed, the highest quality archival, the highest quality archival art website to be built so that it can just be given to anybody, and really to take out as much. I think that would take out so much elitism in art and really just make it, humanities, and maybe making it humanities does have more to do with destroying this concept of the precious original. I don't know.
wow.
Sorry for the ramble, but yeah.
No, no, it's interesting because I mean, like my business concept, the value of the piece was found in the signature of the artist on a manual print that people would have to hang or hold in their hand because it was almost playing into the idea that art is moving digitally away from you. So any touch of the artist was considered valuable or more valuable. And the idea of archiving an original, well, for example, you could do a sculpture, and then you could have 3D printers print up an exact replica or smaller scales of, or your larger scales, whatever, replicas of your sculpture, and then your original could be destroyed, and then hence just these replicas that are printed or photographed in your case would be able to take over. But I would think that would be, it's kind of like taking a Van Gogh painting. You would have to X-ray it in a 3D way to get the texture of that painting, and then print the painting out 3D and re-stretch it again and have that what people could access. Because it was weird. I was responding to Anton. Anton did a video about people weeping over audio but not over visual because visual's over there and apart from you. And I said, well, no, I've weeped over looking through art history books and identifying with different pieces of art, but when I'm in a crowded gallery, I never weep, I never cry, kind of like, I'm less likely to cry in a theater if it's a crowded theater or if the lights are on, or it's more about an embarrassment publicly than it is about whether or not the art form is moving me. And I was just thinking about this idea of when I saw Van Gogh in person, it touched me viscerally, gut. It was a gut, like, oh my God, this guy is painting, like the way he was laying on the paint. It gave me this whole idea of what kind of dance he was doing in his mind and with his body, and it gave me this whole another dimension of him that I thought just a photograph of the painting does not do it justice to try to empathize or hermeneutically get in the position of Van Gogh in any imaginative sense or otherwise. And so the value of the piece, I still think, I don't know if you were just playing devil's advocate there entirely, but uh, I can see what you're saying maybe as a political, you truly believe that it would kick away the elitism, and perhaps it would, but I I still think there's something to be said about the original work as opposed to just duplicates or how they could be duplicated, you know.
Yeah, I mean, my devil's advocate, I think, is coming from, on one hand, I think it would, like for the reasons I stated, I mean, I think it would probably be a good idea to try to find ways of getting around the originals because of how insanely precious it becomes in ways that aren't necessarily warranted.
Mm-hmm.
But I would honestly have a very hard time destroying original work. I mean, most certainly. Hey, Piro's here. Hey, Piro.
Oh, great.
But I think that...
Well, hang on, guys. Before you carry on, I've got to end this video, so say bye, Amanda, since this is your video.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.